Hello, I'm Alistair Greener here at Twickenham. Now, this isn't the place you would think to be talking about travel and transport, but this morning we met along with business leaders in West London for the West London Business Travel and Transport Seminar over a breakfast meeting to hear from various members of the community, to hear what their views were as they put questions to our panel. And we've just heard from Mary Harpley, who's the Chief Executive of the London Borough of Hounslow, and here's what she had to say.
Andrew was very complimentary about the level of knowledge in the panel, but I have to say that a lot of the knowledge area I'm going to be talking about today lies in our transport team, many of whom are here as well. It's interesting, so I'm also going to bring a local authority perspective to this morning and talk, of course, very specifically about some of the work we're doing at Hounslow Council. But I guess that the first point I want to make is, although we are the local council, we're not TfL, we absolutely see transport as our business, as a very, very important part of our agenda, and maximising the benefits of the transport infrastructure for our borough, for the businesses in our borough and for the people who live and work in our borough is an absolute priority. And if you're aware of our ambitions for employment growth and housing in Hounslow, you understand why that first statement is true. We have a very large and diverse employment base, and there are many people from our local employers in the room today, of which we are extremely proud. We want to do our absolute best to retain those businesses, but also to enable those to grow, as many of them are seeking to do, but also to attract others into our borough. So this first slide just talks about, very briefly, two big reviews we're doing, linked, following up to the local plan that we published, adopted just last year. Golden Mile in Brentford, with our colleagues from GSK and Sky, among others, and west of the borough, around Feltham Centre, town centre, and of course is where our borough abuts, directly abuts Heathrow. So what we're trying to do with these two consultations is lay out a plan for sustainable growth in those areas. And as you can see, those are live at the moment, so I thought I would give those a quick plug. But some of the work we've done as a sort of baseline, the position for these reviews, reveals what we already know and what Alex has already spoken about already. There are existing highway congestion, there are existing environmental parameters, including air quality, that mean that we have to think about some serious improvements before we can truly develop sustainable growth plans for these two areas and other parts of our borough. And we're very much of the view that we can only get where we need to be if we can try, with others, with colleagues from TfL and elsewhere, bring about a step change in the provision, particularly of public transport. And within that, particularly rail provision. So I'm going to talk very briefly about three schemes that we are promoting, thinking about very hard, trying to develop with partners, promoting very hard. And then I'm just going to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about the road network, cycling, and behaviour change as well. So, Alex has talked about Piccadilly line upgrade. We're very pleased with that. We're looking forward to when that comes. We've talked about the latest announcement around South West trains. Of course, we've already seen some good frequency improvements on the Hounslow loop and extension of train lengths from South West trains. And we know a number of businesses locally have welcomed that as well. I guess like everybody else, we'll be very interested to see, Alex, how much money you get with some of those next changes to bring about some of those improvements that, as you say, you've achieved with the other overground networks that you've taken on. But so we very much look forward to seeing what you can do there, and as ever, to supporting you with that. But all of those things, they reduce congestion on the current services potentially, but they don't enhance the connectivity of our borough, Hounslow, out into the rest of London and beyond. And that's what these three particular schemes are meant to do, bringing in additional connectivity over and above what we have at the moment to allow more people to get in and out of Hounslow without using their cars. So we think we've come up with three, what the team called technically feasible and relatively low-cost solutions to achieving enhanced connectivity. And they rely either on trying to resurrect the use of currently mothballed structure or making sure that Hounslow is properly connected in to the opportunities presented by Crossrail in particular. So our absolute priority scheme at the moment is this one, which aims to develop a link to Crossrail at Southall from the heart of the Golden Mile in Brentford. In fact, from a site exactly between Skye and GSK. It would use there's a current freight line that serves the waste transfer station that some of you may know is tucked just on the edge of the A4 there. And we spent a small amount of money, £300,000, looking at the feasibility of reopening that line as a passenger line. And we believe it's relatively simple to deliver, technically at least, at a cost of about £40 million, and would have a very positive business case. So that's our first scheme. I'm going to bring all three together in a minute and show you the potential benefits of that. So as I said here, that would make an estimated journey time between Brentford and Southall of 8 minutes. The next one is to pick up on the opportunities presented by Old Oak Common. And to ensure that, in our view, some of those benefits are spread as widely across the West London sub-region as possible. So to do this, we think that a link between Old Oak Common and Hounslow is an essential part of this, would bring direct connections, of course, between stations on the Hounslow Loop and High Speed 2 at Old Oak Common. Again, our initial feasibility studies suggest that potentially as little as £10 million is required to upgrade the existing infrastructure, again to facilitate this link. So these two enhancements would bring 50% more people already living in the area within a 60-minute commute of the Great, essentially of the Great West Mile and Central Hounslow. Clearly, a huge benefit in terms, we hope, of workforce retention, a business already operating there, and we know the issues of getting staff in and out are already issues and also hinder further employment growth in that area. So this, we believe, could very much help that. We're also looking at improving a walking and cycling route between Gillette Corner and Boston Manor Station. Those of you that know the area, it's a relatively short distance, but it's a horrible walk. And that too, we hope, would directly make the area attractive and more attractive to employers. And we're working both, but particularly with Skye, on the feasibility of that route. So these schemes, we think, will cost less than £80 million. Our contention is that actually we all know the financial world we live in, but for the benefits that that could bring, it's a relatively small investment. And again, we're seeking, as I said, to bring about a step change in terms of convenience and accessibility of public transport. And then to move on to Heathrow. So it's always interesting being sandwiched between two speakers when you know your presentation involves both of them in different ways, and you haven't spoken to either of them beforehand, although I am confident that neither Alex nor John will disagree with any of this. So only last week, Hounslow's Cabinet approved in principle to promote a new alignment for rail access to Heathrow from the south. Now, again, this has been a long-running issue with previous attempts at such routes, but again, because of the impact, the lack of that rail access from the south has on our surface transport in Hounslow and on the quality of life for residents as well as issues for businesses. Again, this has gone right back up the political agenda in Hounslow. So we've got a feasibility study that shows that a new rail curve off the Windsor lines just west of Feltham to Terminal 5 is possible, largely through poor quality open space. We could also, we think, that there's also the possibility for an additional curve to allow services from the Surrey-Hampshire direction within the same land parcel. These lines could potentially come together very close to the vicinity of Bedfont Lakes, and potentially with a new station that could be served by up to 8 trains an hour. So not only would that help unlock employment opportunities directly in Heathrow's hinterland, but also opportunities for new housing, of course. And again, we're very clear as a council, you can't have employment aspirations without delivering the housing that goes with that too. Now, this, of course, is not one of those low-cost, high-return schemes I've talked about before. It's a high-cost, high-return scheme. We think that's going to be something in the order of £440 million to deliver. And that's at a much earlier stage of development than the other schemes that I've talked about. But I think, I hope you think, demonstrates sort of the level of ambition at which we're working as a council. And clearly, we need to work with DFT, and we already are in terms of the business case for this. Network Rail, Transport for London, huge range of partners would come together. We've already spoken to John and his team as well about their views of rail access from the south. So it's huge aspiration here, but again, one that's now got political commitment from Cabinet for us at the council to start spending some real money trying to make this happen. So I know that I'm meant to be talking mainly about rail infrastructure, but I just wanted to finish quickly about making sure that people understand that when I said transport is our business, it is more broad than some of these ambitious schemes for the future. We've had some huge investment in the roads in the borough for which we are directly responsible, 250 million investment over the 5 years, and we're halfway through that now. We also, again, gratefully receive significant money from TfL to develop our network to improve safety, reliability of buses, and particularly to encourage more walking and cycling. And again, this is Hounslow Town Centre. Hounslow and Brentford Town Centres have both benefited from multi-million-pound investments. And again, we've got a big scheme planned for Feltham, which again will focus on cycling, walking, and if we get this right, if we get this approved by all parties, would facilitate the closure of the level crossing there in Feltham Town Centre, which of course would make a massive difference to the way that the town centre operates, and make it a rather safer place at the same time. While we're on cycling, we are working with TfL, Sustrans, I've just gone too fast, and TfL and Sustrans on the superhighway number 9, cycle superhighway number 9 between Hammersmith and Hounslow. Again, all sorts of difficulties along the way, but we're absolutely staying in there trying to make that come to life for our stretch of it, which is quite a considerable stretch of it, through Hounslow. This slide that I just flashed up is one of our most recent schemes to encourage children, and perhaps even more so children's parents, to walk to school with a sort of Beat the Street initiative that is coming out. We're rolling out across Hounslow in 2016. So what I've tried to do, I hope, is give you just a small flavour of the range of work we're doing. As you can see, there's some cycle training, which we run from the Civic Centre, in fact, not only for children, but also for adults at the weekend. And it's everything, it ranges everything from trying to make people safe on our current network, get them much more active, get out of their cars, but at the same time look quite a few years ahead to what type of infrastructure we think our borough needs to meet the needs of our diverse employers, both now and in the future. We need everyone's support in doing that. This is just summarises the 3 rail schemes I talked about, and we will be looking as we progress those business cases with partners for business support. So Andrew, I think we'll be talking to you directly there as well, because clearly these are things we cannot do by ourselves, and we need as much support from the people that we think have probably even more at stake in some of this than we do. And if your support for some of these schemes as we develop them will be most welcome. Thank you.
you'd like to hear the presentations in full from the three speakers, please do click on the links below.